Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Treasure Peter and this is Treasure's Craft. On today's tutorial, I'll be showing you guys a step-by-step process on the making of this gown. Stay glued to the end if this is something you're interested in, and don't forget to like, comment, and also subscribe if you've not yet subscribed. Welcome back once again. So to make this gown, I'll be making use of these 3 yards of stripe material. You can use more than 3 yards, you can use 4 yards, but I had to manage it. It's actually by 60 lengthwise. So because the length of my gown is not actually up to 60, I'll be making use of it the way it is, like this. That means the total gathers at the down part will be 3 yards. So I'll be drafting it first on the pattern paper because of how the up part is before cutting it on the fabric, and this will also help me to manage the fabric. The first thing I did was to draw out the starting line, which is also the shoulder line. Next, I proceeded to mark my horizontal lines. I measured and marked my shoulder to underbust point at 13 inches, my shoulder to waistline at 16 inches, and from the waistline I added additional 7 inches, making it 24 inches. So this is going to serve as the overall half length. If I was to make this next time, I will make use of 5 inches and not extra 7 inches because I felt it was actually too long. But this actually depends on what you want to achieve. So I'm going ahead to draw out the lines, and then I proceeded to label the lines. This is the shoulder line, the underbust line, the waist line, and the full length. At the shoulder line, I proceeded to measure my shoulder measurements divided by 2. I mark what I have, and then I proceeded to take the sleeves length. I made use of 15 inches as the sleeves length. This is because there will be a ruch at the shoulder, so the sleeves does not have to be short, but this also depends on what you want to achieve. You can make yours longer or shorter. Next thing I did was to take my neck measurement. I proceeded to take the neck width of 3 inches and a neck depth of 8 inches. And for the back neck depth, I initially made use of 10 inches, although I increased it to the underbust point at 13 inches. But it also depends on what you want to achieve. So I proceeded to connect the V neck lines. This means I'm drafting the back and the front with one pattern paper. At the sleeves length, I came down by 1 inch and connected it in a slanted form to meet up with the neck width. Next, I proceeded to take the round sleeves. From the shoulder slant, I marked 9 inches, which is 18 inches divided by 2. This is going to serve as the round sleeves. At the underbust line, I measured and marked my round underbust measurements divided by 4. At the waist line, I also proceeded to measure my round waistline divided by 4 and marked, then connected the 2 lines together like so. I added my side seam allowance of 1.5 inch at once at the side. At the full length, I also measured my hip measurements divided by 4 and marked what I have before adding extra 1 inch as the side seam allowance. Then I proceeded to use the curved part of the ruler to connect it to the waistline. The reason why I'm using 1 inch as the side seam allowance and not 1.5 inch is because this down part is not really up to the hip line. But when sewing, I'll be making use of 1.5 inches. I divided from the waistline to that full length into 2 to get the midpoint. Then I made use of a curved ruler to connect it to the end, just like this. You can make yours to be V or you can make yours to be really round, anyhow you want to make it. For mine, I wanted it to be a semi-V like this. The next thing I did was at this underbust line, I came in by 3 inches and then I connected it in a curved manner to meet up with the round sleeves before extending the underbust line. So guys, this is all about the drafting of the front pattern. I'll just go ahead to cut it out. So as you can see, I'm cutting only the front neckline because I want to place the pattern paper to cut out the front piece first. So guys, I'm done cutting the pattern paper. I'll be placing it on the fabric to cut out. At this part, I'll be adding 1/2 inch for joining allowance, and then at this up part, I'll be adding 1.5 inch to serve as the channel for the rope where the rope is going to pass through in order to form our ruch. So for mine, I added 1.5 inch, but I advise that you use 1 inch because I feel 1.5 inch was actually too much. And then at this down part, the under bust point, I won't be adding any allowance. This is because I want it to fit very well at the under bust point. But instead, I'll be adding extra 1 inch to this down part so that it will suffice for the 2 allowance. I hope you guys understand that. And then at the down part, I'll also add 1/2 inch allowance. I've already added my side seam allowance, so there is no need to add any other allowance again. So guys, this is it after cutting it out on the fabric, and I have added the necessary allowances like I explained earlier. So guys, here is what we have. I had to open it up to show you guys how it looks like. As you can see, I placed the down part of the center on fold. I also placed it in a vertical way, but this other side was placed in an horizontal manner. So guys, let's go ahead to modify the patterns for the back so we'll be able to cut it out on our fabric. Also, the first thing I'm doing here is to cut out the neck because this is how I wanted the back neck to be like. But I discovered that from the style, the back neck was up to the under bust point, so I'm still going to modify it again. So the next thing I did was to go in at the waistline by 3/4 inch, and this is just so that we will avoid zipper bulge, especially because we are not going to be adding that. But before then, I had to pause and reduce the neck of this back to the under bust points. Like I said before, I noticed that the neck reaches the under bust, so I am just extending the neck to meet up with the under bust before cutting it out. So guys, to continue on this down part, I already marked 3/4 inch at the waistline. So I'll proceed to use this ruler to connect it to the down part like this in a slanted form, and I'll also do the same thing to the up part. So while cutting on my fabric, I'll make sure to add my zip allowance and also replace this part that I'll be cutting out at the side. So guys, at this point, I'll go ahead to also cut it out on my fabric. For the back piece, I'll be adding the zip allowance and the same allowances I added to the front part. This is it after cutting. I have also gone ahead to add 1 inch allowance for the zip, and I also added the same allowances I added to the front part, and also replaced the 3/4 inch that I took out of the zipper allowance part at the side. So this is how it's going to be placed. At this point, I'll start with sewing the up part. So for this up part, I have gone ahead to cut out the facing of the neck, and this is the armpit side. So for this part, I'll first of all go ahead to turn the sleeves. So just go ahead to turn the sleeves without joining it at the shoulder. So I'll be using my bias to turn it. And for this part, I went ahead to cut this small facing for the neck. If your material is big enough, make sure that it is bigger than this. I was actually managing my material, that's why it is not big, and I'll be using my aiming gum to turn the neck very well. This is actually the upper part of the back. I'll just go ahead to turn the facing and also use the bias to turn the sleeves on both sides. So I'll show you guys what I have. This is the down part of the back. So I've gone ahead to cut lining pieces for it, so I will turn it to look neat. I have also cut lining for the front part, but the up part of the front does not have any lining. For the upper part of the front, I've also gone ahead to cut out the facings for the neck, so I also use the facing to turn the neck. This is a very small facing. I had to really manage my fabric, so make yours to be bigger. I'll also be turning the neck with the facing using an aiming gum, and I'll also use a bias to turn the round sleeves in this manner separately, like I illustrated for the back part. After turning the neck of the front, this is it. See how it's looking so beautiful. And I've also gone ahead to use the bias to hem the sleeves, as you can see. So I've done that to the back piece also. So the next thing I'll go ahead to do is to join this front part at this center. I'll be joining it with the 1/2 inch. This is the back side also. I've gone ahead also to turn it, even if this facing is very small. I really had to manage it. So I've gone ahead also to turn the sleeves with the bias, as you can see. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to attach the down part to the up part. I'll go ahead to run a gather stitch down here. So I'll just go ahead to gather it at once, but I'll leave my 1 inch allowance for zip at the center part of the back. So I'll just go ahead to gather it and I'll join it with 1/2 inch. So try to make sure that your gathers is evenly distributed. I'll also be doing the same thing to this other side. I'm going ahead to also start from 1 inch after the zip allowance. Then I'm pinning it down to reach the end. I'll just go ahead to run a scanty gathers. This is the front side after running the gathers. For the front side, I had to run the gathers first before attaching it. So I'll just go ahead to join it with 1/2 inch. As you can see, my gathers is evenly distributed. So try to make yours too. This is the center part of the neck that I joined. So I'll just go ahead to join it and show you guys what I have. This is it after joining it with 1/2 inch. So in order to hide this joining, I am going ahead to use the facing to turn it like this. So go ahead to face it in like this and turn it to this other side. This is the best way for you to hide the joining. This is the back piece after attaching it. As you can see, I left 1 inch at the zip allowance point, and I also go ahead to use my lining to turn it in order to cover the joining part. I'll do the same thing also for the other side of the back piece. So guys, here's the front part after turning it in. See how neat it's looking at the back side as well as the front side. So guys, the next thing I'm going to be doing now is to join the back to the front. I've also gone ahead to turn the lining of the back also. So I'll be joining the shoulder to the shoulder. Place it well, make sure that it is well positioned. Then I'll go ahead to join the shoulder to the shoulder with the 1.5 inch allowance that I left at the up part. In order to create the channel to pass the rope for the ruched effect, I'll just proceed to join it off the camera. This is what we have after joining it, as you can see. The next thing I'll do is to open up this joining, and then I'll proceed to iron it before I'll hem it on both sides in order to pass the rope through. You can use 1/2 inch for the allowance. I'll do the same thing to the other side of the shoulder. This is the rope I'll be passing through. I've already gone ahead to sew out the rope, and I made it longer than the sleeves by about 3 inches. I'll just go ahead to hem both sides. This is it after hemming it, and the next thing I'm going to do is to just pass the rope through, as you can see. So I'll just use my safety pin to just use it to pass the rope through. Make sure to pass the rope from the neck area to the sleeves opening part, just like you see me doing. And don't forget to stitch it at the neck part to secure it very well when you reach the end of the rope. So guys, I'll go ahead to fix the other ropes of the camera and show you guys the final result. So guys, this is it after fixing the ropes. Here is our ruched, and I've also secured it at the neck. This is how the ruched looks like. It's so beautiful. So next, I'll proceed to close both sides with the seam allowance I added before joining the down part. After closing the sides, here is what I have. I proceeded to open it up in this manner before joining the gathers. So you can either go ahead to measure round to check what you have there, and then you go ahead to sew gathers at the down part. Remember, I told you I made use of 3 yards for the width of the down part. It's 3 yards I'll be using to run the gathers, and then to get the full length, I measured up to this point at the side, and this is about 21 inches. But I'll start to take from 20.5. So in order to take the full length, I'll be measuring from 20.5 to the full length of the gown that I want to get, and that's what is going to serve as the length of this gown. I've already gone ahead to cut the length of my gown, which was about 56 inches, and the total width is 3 yards. But if you have up to 4 yards, it will give you the perfect gathers. I'll be joining the gathers directly on the down part like this. So I'll just go ahead to try to make sure that it's evenly distributed. If you like, you can just measure around to get what you have here. and then you go ahead to run a loose stitch on the width of the down part, and then drag to form your gathers to make sure that it's the same measurements that you have there. I've gone ahead to run this gather separately. Then I'll just go ahead to join it to the down part. Just follow it and join it to the down part with 1/2 inch, and that'll be all. I'll just join it off the camera and show you guys the end result. So guys, this is how it looks like after joining it. As you can see, I made sure that my gathers was evenly distributed, and it's looking so neat and so fine. So the final thing I'll do is to go ahead to close the zip allowance. I'll go ahead to close, and make sure to confirm your measurement first before closing it. So I'll close for my zip allowance, and starting from about 3 inches after the joining, I'll close it to the end, and then I'll go ahead to fix the zip and also hem the down part, and that'll be all for the making of this gown. So guys, here's the final look of the gown. As you can see, it's looking so beautiful and so neat. Thank you so much for watching up to this point. Do give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you've not subscribed. This is how it looked on my body when I wore it. Thank you so much guys, and see you guys in my next tutorial. Bye for now.